What happened to the mansions of New York's second wealthiest high society family? Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we are traveling back in time to uncover the many mansions of the Goelet brothers. Hit that like button to let YouTube know you enjoy videos about historic homes, and let's begin exploring this house. Today's video is sponsored by the Victorian Society in America. More on them later. In 1676, Francois Goelet fled from France with his only son, a 10-year-old named Jacobus. After making sure his son was in safe hands, Francois returned to Europe, never to be seen again. Perhaps this is where the Goelet family dynasty begins. As Jacob grew up, he started purchasing rural land and leasing it to farmers, but never selling. He passed his land down to his sons, who purchased more land, leased it, and passed it down to their sons in turn. This cycle repeated itself for over 200 years until 1879, when brothers Ogden and Robert Goelet inherited the family fortune. What was once considered rural land had been consumed by the sprawl of New York City and was now some of the most valuable real estate in the entire world. The brothers' combined wealth and landholdings placed them second only to the Astors, who reigned at the top of high society. Both were named members of the 400, an elite group of New Yorkers deemed to be the only people suitable for a high society ballroom. With this status came the expectation of joining the ultra-wealthy by building mansions in Manhattan. In 1882, the brothers hired architect E.H. Kendall to design each of them a mansion along Fifth Avenue to sit catty-corner from one another across 49th Street. When Ogden's was completed in 1884, he hosted a ball to celebrate the opening of the spring social season, in which most of the 400 were in attendance. Around the same time, Newport, Rhode Island had become the fashionable summer retreat for high society. The Goelet brothers decided to join in with the other wealthy elites and build their summer cottages in Newport as well. In 1881, Robert commissioned the esteemed architecture firm of McKim, Mead & White to design for him a rambling mansion known as Southside. 10 years later, Ogden went one step further and hired famed Gilded Age architect Richard Morris Hunt, tasking him with designing the largest mansion in Newport. Before we explore both of these mansions, a quick word from today's sponsor, the Victorian Society in America. Are you obsessed with historic architecture? Have you ever wanted to go beyond reading and learning to actually experience historically and architecturally significant sites? With the Victorian Society in America, you can travel to American cities and tour exceptional 19th century buildings, and pursue learning in internationally acclaimed summer study programs in Chicago, Newport, and London. Join the Victorian Society in America this May for an educational tour in Baltimore. The itinerary is packed with exciting visits to key architectural sites, landscapes, and artistic gems. Click the link in the video description to visit victoriansociety.org to register today. Your architectural adventure starts here. Thank you, Victorian Society in America, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's begin exploring these mansions. We'll start at Robert's Southside, which was completed in 1884 at the grand cost of $100,000, the modern equivalent of nearly $3.2 million. Southside was positioned on Ochre Point with a commanding view of the sea, and finished out not to be ostentatious, but to be comfortable and spacious enough for entertaining large groups. Though the interior was everything you would expect of a lavish vacation house, with wood paneling cladding the walls of the two-story entrance hall and further decorated with antique European tapestries. Against this formal backdrop, relaxed furniture was placed about the rooms with potted plants in almost every corner to give it a refreshing ambiance. Not wanting to be outdone by any of the palatial residences popping up around Newport, Ogden purchased the land next door to his brother's house on Ochre Point and spent $4.6 million, or the modern equivalent of nearly $160 million, developing Ochre Court. When it was finished in 1892, it was the largest, most expensive, and most opulent mansion ever built in Rhode Island, coming in at 44,229 square feet. Designed in the Chateauesque style, Ochre Court was faced on all sides in limestone and surrounded by perfectly manicured gardens. And if the cottage's imposing facade left you dazzled, the interior would be sure to leave you stunned. We enter Ochre Court below the grand staircase and continue across marble floors below a grand archway boasting delicate relief work. This leads us to the three-story entrance hall, finished out with gilded accents, glistening below an expansive ceiling mural spanning the barrel vault. The proportions of Ochre Court are almost impossible to comprehend. When the dining table's leaves were in place, there was enough space to seat a reported 200 dinner guests. Larger yet, the Rococo ballroom came alive for a few weeks every summer social season, with brightly colored ball gowns swirling about the ballroom floor. The library continued in opulence, serving more as a social space than a place to read, with very few books to be found on its shelves. In 1892, when Ochre Court was opened for its first ball, it left guests stunned, but that feeling would not last for long. Not too far away, the Vanderbilts had hired the same architect to design the breakers, which would end up taking the title of Newport's largest cottage upon its completion in 1895. Nonetheless, Ogden continued to enjoy his cottage for a couple weeks out of each year until his passing in 1897. Robert followed his brother to the grave shortly after in 1898, but their many mansions passed down through their own respective families. Both of the Manhattan mansions were eventually torn down and replaced by commercial buildings, but their Newport mansions, on the other hand, both continue to stand. Southside, also known as Seaside today, is still owned by Robert's descendants. Ochre Court has since been donated by Ogden's descendants to Salve Regina University, where it continues to stand, meticulously maintained, and enjoyed by students and faculty year-round. Which of the Goelet brothers' mansions was your favorite? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.